Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble obeisance to Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Bhagavatam. And we are also praying to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. We're also praying to Srimati Radharani via the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who said that unless we can understand something about Srimati Radharani through our study of Bhagavatam, then our study has been pointless. So we're praying to Srimati Radharani in this way. Yadi seva vanchitasya ma yasya kripaya vayam labema sarvam prapnuma prayojanam damni Shri Bhagavat Pade Krishna sambandhi sarvam cha yadi na janimahe tutam ashtadashasu sahasreshu shlokanam Bhagavat oktishu radharanimna vindamatada nisfalam Bhagavat adhyayanam radhikaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva parishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, all our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing from Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 29 talks between Nārada and King Prācīnabarhi, texts 23 through 25. Dandavat Pranam, Uma Devi.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes, so we are reading texts 23 through 25. Adhayo vyadhayastasya sainika yavanaschara bhuto pashargasuraya prajvaro dvividhodvara evam bahu vidhardukair Daiva bhutatma sambhavai klishamana satam varsham dehe dehi tamovrata pranandriya manodharman atman yadyasya nirguna sate kamalabhandyayan mamaham iti karma krit. The followers of Yavaneshvara or Yamaraj are called the soldiers of death, and they are known as the various types of disturbances that pertain to the body and mind. Prajvara represents the two types of fever, extreme heat and cold, typhoid and pneumonia. The living entity lying down within the body is disturbed by many tribulations pertaining to providence, to other living entities, and to his own body and mind. Despite all kinds of tribulations, the living entity subjected to the necessities of the body, mind, and senses, and suffering from various types of disease, is carried away by many plans due to his lust to enjoy the world. Although transcendental to this material existence, the living entity out of ignorance accepts all these material miseries under the pretext of false egoism, I and mine. In this way he lives for 100 years within this body. Purport. In the Vedas it is stated, Ashango Hyayam Purusha. The living entity is actually separate from material existence, for the soul is not material. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that the living entity is the superior energy, and the material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and so on, are the inferior energy. The material elements are also described as bina, or separated energy. When the internal or superior energy comes in contact with the external energy, it is subjected to many tribulations. In Bhagavad Gita 2.14, the Lord also says, Matras parshas tukanteya sitoshna shukadukada. Because of the material body, the living entity is subjected to many tribulations brought about by air, water, fire, extreme heat, extreme cold, sunshine, excessive eating, unhealthy food, maladjustments of the three elements of the body, kapha, pitta, vayu, and so on. The intestines, the throat, the brain, and the other parts of the body are affected by all kinds of diseases that are so powerful that they become sources of extreme suffering for the living entity. The living entity, however, is different from all these material elements. The two types of fever described in this verse can be explained in contemporary language as pneumonia and typhoid. When there is an extreme fever in the body, there is typhoid and pneumonia, and they are described as prajvara. There are other miseries created by other living entities. The state exacts taxes, and there are also many thieves, rogues, and cheaters. Miseries brought about by other living entities are called adibautika. There are also miseries in the form of famine, pestilence, scarcity, war, earthquakes, and so on. These are caused by the demigods or other sources beyond our control. Actually, there are many enemies of the living entities, and these are all described to point out how miserable the material existence is. Knowing the basic misery of material existence, one should be induced to get out of the material clutches and return back home, back to Godhead. Actually, the living entity is not at all happy in this material body. Because of the body, he suffers thirst and hunger and is influenced by the mind, by words, by anger, by the belly, by the genitals, by the rectum, and so on. Manifold miseries encircle the transcendental living entity simply because he desires to satisfy his senses in this material world. If he simply withdraws from activities of sense gratification and applies his senses in the service of the Lord, all the problems of material existence will immediately diminish. With the advancement of Krishna consciousness, he will be freed from all tribulations, and after giving up the body, he will go back home, back to Godhead. Texts 26 through 27. Yadhatmanam avigyaya bhagavantam param gurum purushastu vishajeta guneshu prakrite svadrik gunabhimani satada karmani kurute vasa shuklam krishnam lohitam va yatha karma bijayate. The living entity by nature has minute independence to choose his own good or bad fortune. But when he forgets his Supreme Master, this personality of Godhead, he gives himself up into the modes of material nature. Being influenced by the modes of material nature, he identifies himself with the body, and for the interest of the body becomes attached to various activities. Sometimes he is under the influence of the mode of ignorance, sometimes the mode of passion, and sometimes the mode of goodness. The living entity thus gets different types of bodies under the modes of material nature. Purport. These different types of bodies are explained in Bhagavad Gita 13.22. Purusha prakriti stohi bhunte prakriti jangunan karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets good and evil among various species. Because of associating with the modes of nature, the living entity gets a variety of bodies from the 8,400,000 forms. It is clearly explained herein that the living entity has a little independence, indicated by the words svadrik, meaning one who can see his own welfare. The living entity's constitutional position is very minute, and he can be misled in his choices. He may choose to imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A servant may desire to start his own business and imitate his master, and when he chooses to do so, he may leave the protection of his master. Sometimes he is a failure, and sometimes he is successful. Similarly, the living entity, part and parcel of Krishna, starts his own business to compete with the Lord. There are many competitors out to attain the Lord's position, but to become like the Lord is not at all possible. Thus, there is a great struggle for existence with the material world as different parties try to imitate the Lord. Material bondage is caused by deviation from the service of the Lord and attempts to imitate him. The Lord is imitated by Mayavadi philosophers who try to become one with the Lord in an artificial way. When the Mayavadi philosophers think of themselves as liberated, they are under the delusion of mental concoction. No one can become one with or equal to God. To imagine this is to continue one's bondage in material existence. Text 28. Shuklat prakasha bhuyistal lokan apnoti karhichit dukhodharkan kriyaya sams tamashokot katan kvachit. Those who are situated in the mode of goodness act piously, according to Vedic injunctions. Thus they are elevated to the higher planetary systems where the demigods live. Those who are influenced by the mode of passion engage in various types of productive activities in the planetary systems where human beings live. Similarly, those influenced by the mode of darkness are subjected to various types of misery and live in the animal kingdom. Purport. There are three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. Those influenced by the mode of goodness are given places in the upper planetary systems, Brahmaloka or Satyaloka, Tapaloka, Janaloka, and Maharloka. Those influenced by the mode of passion are given places in the Borloka and Bhuvarloka. Those influenced by the mode of ignorance are given places in Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, and Rasatala, Patala, or the animal kingdom. Qualitatively, the living entity is the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but because of his forgetfulness, he gets different bodies in different planetary systems. At the present moment, human society is overly influenced by the mode of passion, and consequently people are engaged in working in big factories. They forget how distressful it is to live They forget how distressful it is to live in such places. In Bhagavad Gita, such activities are described as ugra karma, that is, distressful activities. Those who utilize the energies of the worker are called capitalists, and those who actually perform the work are called laborers. In actuality, they are both capitalists, and the workers are in the modes of passion and ignorance. The result is that there is always a distressful situation. In contrast to these men are those influenced by the mode of goodness, the karmis and the jnanis. The karmis, under the direction of the Vedic instructions, try to elevate themselves to higher planetary systems. The jnanis try to merge into the existence of Brahman, the impersonal feature of the Lord. In this way, all classes of living entities and various species of life are existing within this material world. This explains superior and inferior life forms within the material world. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 29 on Monday. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Gaur Lila Krishna Lila Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Scientific Sankirtan Yagi Ki Jai. Jai Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Hari Hari Jai Srimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Kesha Prabhu ki jai.
Dandavad Stiri.